if you saw in 2010 there was this hype around that South Africa is not a safe place to host the World Cup, and we actually had a very successful World Cup. Now we're hosting the African Nations Cup in January next year. What advice would you give the country to better their success in terms of security?
Thank you very much for your questions. Actually, the best advice for any event organizer is not just only to work on the security and safety on the ground, is also to work on the perception, on the media. This is very important. You know, it's, at the end of the day, you want to encourage people to come from all around the world, from different countries to attend the tournament. So unless there is a lot of work and to reflect this in the media, to send the right message, as Mr. Heinz talked in his presentation, whereas some media, talked about, safety and security in South Africa, and during the tournament it was excellent, So it's, I think it's not enough to do things on the ground. Of course, also the best advice is always to share knowledge with others, nations, with others, because an African Cup is becoming really very important in the world. It's not, it's not only for African nations. Now, if you talk about World Cup, we talk about Euro Cup, and then you talk about African Cup. Where most talented players, most professional players in the European leagues are from Africa. So it's very important tournament, very important cup. It's watched all over the world. So people in South Africa should all, take this in mind, that South Africa is not, watched only in Africa. It's going to be watched all over the world because it's a very important tournament.
May I add, because you were talking also about the learnings, maybe what can be done different. I think the difference itself is that for the 2010 World Cup there was a lot of things to be prepared, which now is experienced from 2010. And of course the approach is different, because even if African Cup of Nations is a very important and well-known event all over the world, the arrangements for traveling is different. For the World Cup, Africa expected thousands of people arriving to the country, and I think that's what media really took as an argument and starting campaigns against South Africa. But at the end, now it's really to take the key learnings, also very much on the operational side, not to reinvent the wheel and to start from the beginning. And that's also what I said in my speech, that we are also offering to support if it is required. If not, we will be here to observe, to evaluate, to take some information back to our organization, and also then to spread it over other countries. And yeah, we will be happy to be part of it in what role ever. Maybe just to come back, also, I'm quite sure if ICSS would have already have been existing in 2006 or 7 or 8 and playing an active role in the preparations, it would have been much easier for South Africa to refer to an international organization in sports security. So all had to be referred to our own. I say our because I was involved in South Africa, and whatever you told media in Europe, they did not believe it. I made 3 presentations in Europe in 2008 already, and I still have it. And I said it will be a safe and secure World Cup 2010 for all the involved groups, players, officials, spectators. I could even guarantee it, yeah? But they did not want to hear the positive stories. They were prepared for something negative, and that's also a reason ICSS has been founded, to support organizers.
If I can add something, an important factor now, which is different from 2010 to 2013, is the social media. People involved in safety and security should take this into account. The use of social media is going to play a major role, and from the fans themselves, how they use it. And any message can disrupt a game. And the social media is very quick, very fast, Twitter, Facebook, or other social media. In our last conference, last month in Doha, Majdi Abdelghani from Egypt, actually he pointed out that in Boursaid, the social media was one of the reasons. It was used between the fans before the match. So social media also to be considered in safety and security, to be monitored, and there has to be a plan how to react to any messages in the social media from crisis management perspective.
So, Joe Maluleke from supersport.com. I've got just two questions. One is around the presentation that you made. You mentioned that match fixing is a major threat. How do you plan, obviously, to combat that moving into the next couple of editions? Also, the presentation, you mentioned that you would like to be involved with the 2013 Nations Cup, 15 as well as 17. Have you started talking to the authorities around this events, and how far are the negotiations going in this regard?
Thank you very much for your question. Regarding match fixing, actually, Mr. Chris Eaton, who is now the head of security in FIFA, and he's the one who put the foundation for match fixing program in FIFA. He's going to join us 1st of May next month. And also, that's from practitioner point of view, and he's been investigating this issue for almost 2 years. He has great experience, all over the world, and also from legal perspective, we approach to work with the Sorbonne University. For first time in the world, that's an institution or organization look at this problem from legal perspective. So we are aiming to have international legal framework or an international convention, because this is very dangerous for the players, for the referee, for the world of football.
Yes, please.
Second question, I think it has to be still answered. Yes, of course, this conference is one of the opportunities to talk with the responsible authorities and people, and we will take the opportunity during today and tomorrow to present ourselves, and it's quite an easy job to get introduced, because Yannick Jordan was more or less also my boss over some years, and he knows us very well. He was one of the keynote speakers at our conference back in Doha 3 weeks ago. So now it's really to define, is there requirement for support? How could we do that? That has to be defined. We are ready for it, because we think it would be very helpful also for the African Cup of Nations, and to work on standards. The results should be at the end to improve standards for African football, and what could be better than to step in with this prestigious tournament at the beginning.